Hello, Dino Navy. My name is Siron, and welcome to today's, I guess it is, off-topic video, technically, by the definition or whatever. Anyway, we are here in the story so far, the Psyb0i Dino&CreepY lore. And this is something I've been wanting to do ever since I made the Psyb0i games, but I just haven't gotten around to doing it because I've been making the Psyb0i games and Avis Haven, and pretty soon now, which is the next one up, Polymania. So that's coming up. And actually, I know I said with Avis Haven that I wanted to tell you what I wanted to do with it, but I actually never really did. Now I think about it, maybe I did. I don't know. But it is unstable lore anyway. So what this is about is telling you the story of like what all the events leading up to the end of Avis Haven. So all four of those, the Psyb0i games, Dixit in the Docks, and Planet 7675Y. So I think the earliest point in the timeline, okay, well, obviously, if we're going on a timeline perspective, it would probably start right around the time when the Divine, and I can't say this, actually, well, I think I might have said this, and if I am going to be, talking about this and, talking about my ideas for Polymania, I might have already said it. So basically, the Divine are looking for places to put, the dead spirits, basically, of everybody. But the thing is, there's no such thing as infinity. In the known universe, it's a bit confusing. So each universe has a heaven and hell, but they are not infinitely big. And even in the Psyb0i games, this is our first look at the Lake of the Dead, and even that is not infinitely big. So, but what we're doing, they're like, okay, we're running out of space here. Like, it's getting pretty packed, and we can't, like, just send him back into the normal universe. That's not infinite either. And then they're like, wait a second. What if we destroyed the souls? So that's what they did. The whole thing about the docks is, so they sent it around in the 1400s, sometime about that, on an unknown planet. I might explore that, I might not. Maybe I could do a spin-off or another one of the installments called Ceruleus or something, I don't know. Anyway, so around the 1400s, and eventually, by the time of Dixit in the Docks, they have completely invaded Australis. So, I'm getting ahead of myself. But, alright. So, eventually it gets to 2072. Alright? And this is our first look into what happens in the actual thing. I just realized this might need more than one part, because this is going to be a long time. Okay. So, Sauron, he's he's your friendly neighborhood Lizard, and and he's bringing Drake over to this thing. I forgot what it's called. Actually, wait, yeah, the thing is never actually explained, but it's basically an arcade, those, like, you got your classic Dave & Buster's, your main event, your Peter Piper pizza. I don't know if that's very popular, but, that was my, like, I was about to say childhood. I mean, I'm still legally a child, but, like 5 through 10, like, kind of, okay, yeah. So, it's similar to that, and they're out there, and they're basically playing, and then he's like, Sauron figured out, wait, why don't I have my powers? Because usually Lizard gets their powers along with puberty or something like that, somewhere in that little area where they're growing into an adult, basically. So, he's like, wait, why don't I have powers? So there's then the whole cringy, very terrible story writing, but it doesn't mean it didn't canonically happen. And there's the whole, he's looking for ways to find powers. Oh my gosh. And then he falls asleep and has a dream. Oh my gosh, how cliche. Yeah. And eventually, I forgot what exactly it was. Oh yeah, so he's going out there next day, and then he hears someone talking. They're like, oh wow, there's this Subscryte crystal. Because, like, Ivy Village, which is where it takes place, I think it's only mentioned once in the actual thing, the name, but that's where he is, somewhere on the bottom right of the florals sector. Yeah, it's not a very big town, so even though it's more widespread known throughout the universe, Ivy Village hasn't really gotten it, so it's more of a rumor. Alright, and they're like, oh my gosh, there's this special crystal. I think it's called Subscryte, and it gives you 2 extra powers when you touch it. Ooh. Crystal just be like, touch me harder. Okay, whatever. If you know that reference, you know that reference. Okay. So he's like, oh my gosh, I gotta get this crystal. And he's going, and he basically goes to tell Drake of all people, or Draco of all people. Drake's nickname, whatever. And yeah, he basically... Now, I might do another spin-off on Creepy and CreepY, because he's not he doesn't, like, if this were a movie or something, which would technically was a video, he wouldn't get much screen time. I don't know how to explain, yeah, because it's in writing, but anyway. So I might do that, and how Draco knows Creepy before Siron does, but anyway. So he gives him a phone number, and basically Siron goes home, and eventually tries it out. Ooh, wow. Surprise, surprise, it actually works. Because even though, he was like, usually gullible? Is that the word? Yeah, it's gullible. So he's usually very gullible. And, oh yeah, I could also, show you guys the drawing. Okay, so this is Draco. This is CreepY. And we'll focus on the other guys later. I'm acting like they're new. These are very not new to the channel. You guys, if you guys actually watch my videos, you would know about these people. Hey. Anyway, so it's like Morse code, and it's so corny and terrible writing, and basically, and eventually, he ends up going to Creepy's house, because you just go to some random stranger's house that you just go to a random stranger's house that you got from a Morse code message in a phone call, and then wow, turns out he's super friendly, because that wouldn't be very good to the plot now, would it, if he wouldn't. And a lot of this is actually plot armor, and actually I'm gonna reference this in Polymania about how a lot of the people don't seem to have very much trouble doing the stuff they set out to do. Yeah, anyway, so they're going there, alright, and then he's like, oh yeah, come on in. He basically explains the whole thing, and, I didn't realize that, little did I know when I was writing this, but the whole the detail of Subscryte not working in someone else's presence, unless it was massive, like really massive, bruh. Okay, unless it was like really, really big, like the one he does eventually get. I didn't realize that would work in my favor in Avis Haven, but it did. 'Cause like, if Raven punched out if she got the Subscryte crystal out of the machine, wouldn't she have just absorbed the powers? No, because Nori and Raptimov were right there. So yeah, that's it. So anyway, so he basically gives him a katana, because that's the only sword I knew. So I was like, all right, well, let's just roll with it. We all know it's a sword. All right, he slashed sweat, and even I was like, there's even made it in a point in the thing where Simon's like, ain't no way I'm gonna be able to do it. He's like, just swing it. Just slash it at you. Just slash it at whoever you want to slash it at. Yeah. Anyway, so he goes there, and I think, okay, wait, I forgot exactly, so hold on. Yeah, okay, so he goes home, alright, he's like, alright, I'm gonna pack up, and he starts bringing stuff, you know, and eventually he sets himself off. Oh wait, I forgot, he gives him like a device, so they can communicate, because, you know, you can't just call them. Who does that? Because, you know, they do have phones. It's 2072. Okay, yeah, I'm realizing how stupid this plot is. But it's what canonically happened, so, and there's no change in it. Because if I'm scared to change something or to have, like, a plot hole in my thing, which is definitely guaranteed to happen if I keep expanding the lore like this, which I will. But anyway, so he's going on a journey to the facility. And you were supposed to have known that because I didn't explain it. You know, there's the whole facility that contained a Subscryte crystal, and they were studying it, seeing how it worked in the Flares region, or Flares sector. So like, alright, let's go. You know, because you're going that distance on foot. Like basically a decent amount of ways across. It'd be like not even moving state, not even walking across a singular state, like walking across 3 different states of the United States on foot, no help. I'm realizing how bad this is, but okay. So he's going there. He eventually gets there, he sets up camp, because, you know, he was carrying a tent the whole way there. He was just carrying it on his back or something, I don't know. And he's going, alright. And eventually he's like, he hears a sound. He's like, what's that? It's subscribe. And he's going in there. He's like, what is that? And if it were a video, it was supposed to be a jump scare. You know, like, he's like looking around. It pans a little bit. And then, yeah. So there's Snakey. Oh yeah, did I mention he was disguised as a flare? He was disguised as a one of the flares, and so was Snako, or Snakey. I don't know. They have nicknames. Kind of like Raptimov being the one who asked. Anyway, so he's like, "What the heck, dude?" And then I don't know how to make people. You can even see this same terrible writing in Avis Haven, even this far away. Even though I've done it like 4 times already. Actually, I mean, there's the canonical story for Planet 7675Y is completed, at least the first part, but I didn't actually write it out wholly, like actually in the writing, so it's fine. Okay, so he's like, what the heck? And then some bad writing ahead, and eventually they're friends all of a sudden, because, you know, he was about to freaking bite him. I mean, it was a prank, so he definitely wasn't gonna be, but, like, yeah. So eventually, they call Creepy, they explain everything, they're like, alright, but we need, and they're gonna be like, we're gonna get Subscryte, and we're like, alright, but we need a case for it, and we also need a way for Snakey to communicate with the 3 of us. So basically, they make it a way so all 3 of them can have the device, and then, because Snakey has powers that were so effortlessly convenient to the plot, it's not even funny. Yeah, so his 2 powers are duplication of objects and fabrication of objects. You can fabricate. Whoa! Who would have ever known? It's funny because it actually was bent for the freaking plot. Canonically, like, I mean, I know those are going to be his powers moving forward, because they have to be. But I didn't know what Snakey's powers were going to be until I made that scene. So yeah, eventually they're in there, they're like, alright. And it gets to the point where, so right where he's walking through the halls to get to that room, that's where it cuts off, that I stopped writing. But I do know what happened. So basically, he gets to the thing, they're like, alright, we're sneaking in, and they're doing all this sneaky stuff, going to get to the room, shutting off all the cameras, and then eventually he gets to the room, he's about to put it in the thing, but then there's some other scientists or whatever, the guards or whatever, walk in, they're like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, nothing, and then they're like, doing the whole thing. So eventually they're like, alright, you know what, you're coming with us. And they put him in a room, like a holding room or something. It's not like a prison. How do I describe it? It's one of those vacant rooms. It's a vacant room that nobody's using, but it wasn't like meant to lock. It had a lock, but yeah, okay, it's hard to describe. Anyway, so they're like holding him there, like, okay, well, what do we do? So they leave him there, and they take away, I forgot what they took away. So, I am all over the place with this thing, dude. I mean, it's 17 minutes, yeah, we can go for, okay, so, eventually they come back in, they're like, alright, and once again, this is such terrible writing and doesn't make any sense. They're like, alright, we'll let you go if you tell us what you're doing with it. Which is just like, it doesn't make any freaking sense, but alright. You know, so they're doing that, but then they hear, the device he has in his ear. So like, alright. So like, hey, what are you doing? Give us that. And so they take it, and while they were, okay, so what, it was Snakey who told, Sauron, hey, I'm gonna blow this place up with C4, because that's the only bomb I knew the name of when I wrote this. I still don't know any other bombs, but that's fine. And that's how they heard him. So they took it away, and, they leave him there, you know, and then they Creepy unlocks the door or something. Once again, this is not, because I never actually wrote this. I can look in the, here, wait, hold on. Here we have this thing. Oop, nope, okay. Okay. So, we have it was named animation script because it was supposed to be a video originally. Then it turned into just writing. I could call it a book, but obviously it's not a book. I mean, maybe it could be considered an ebook. Okay, yeah, he's gonna rig the place with C4. That was how the people heard Snakey and took away Siren's earpiece. The people ended up leaving. Creepy disabled the door, letting Sauron get the crystal and his things. Okay, yeah. So his things would probably include the sword and the earpiece. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and then there was supposed to be a whole explosion scene, which I definitely wouldn't have been able to animate. Probably would have looked stupid. Yeah. So friends headed to camp, you know. They booked it down the hall and out the door. And just then, Snakey ignited it, you know. Alright. Sauron touched the Subscryte. Nothing. It didn't work. So basically, it's a fake. They're like, why is it a fake? Yeah. So, in the whole thing, the facility, the Flares research facility, got it from the liminals, which didn't, the liminal sector, and they basically didn't have any Subscryte. Wow, we caught Subscryte right here. We're gonna sell it to you so you can study it. They're like, alright, let's go. And they didn't even inspect it. They were studying a fake one, basically, without even knowing. So yeah, and then what they stole was the fake one. They're like, what the heck? What? You and Poppy, it's all your fault. Oh, whoa. Oh, I didn't know I could do that. Alright. Also, I never called this out, but I just realized the font changed. That's weird. Okay. So, they're basically like, okay, well, wait, okay. And they might have a real crystal. Yeah, the sector with the most Subscryte was the remnants, which is the purple one. Yeah. And I like how I put the colors there, like I had to specify. I mean, yeah. Okay, Sauron said that you need said that you need a quarry pass, and so I forgot. Okay, the quarry pass was like to get into the remnant sector, which if you were born there, if you were a remnant, you didn't need. But to be around the area where the Subscryte crystals generated or were, then you needed a CTTC, you know, because yeah, and it was Crystal Temptation Training Certificate. Yeah, so they're like, alright, well, that can be gotten in the aquatic sector. Actually, aquatics. I don't know why I pronounced it like that, but it's aquatics. So they've fabricated a futuristic version of a motorcycle. Wow! Headed across 2 borders and into the aquatic sector. Meanwhile, command center in charge, basically, if it were a video, it would like jump cut to the command center or whatever, which is like somewhere near the facility. They're like, what the heck? No, we gotta send a troop of soldiers after Sauron and Snakey. The 2 arrive at the aquatic center and ask around for a rate to get a CTTC. And it was then that they noticed the troops of Flares. It quickly tells them that the temple is in the abyssal lake at the edge of the world. Nobody knows exactly where it is, but he said he could give them a map, which it also is really bad world building. So you're telling me the only way to get, it's like, let's use a real world example. The only way I'd possibly be able to get into Arizona is if I went all the way up to Canada, alright, and then got into the Hudson Bay, and somewhere in there, nobody quite knows, is a way that they could get a certificate that they allow you to get into the Arizona. That'd be what it was like. I mean, maybe not the distance. The distance is probably a little bit different, but you get the point. It's like, what is... I'm realizing how bad that is, but you know, this is a different planet. They have different rules and different weird things. Because, you know, the Zales over on Australis, they have no clothes. They don't wear clothes. So dumb. I'm realizing this. And I'm allowed to make fun of it because I made it. Alright? Whoa. Okay, wait. Where is I? Okay. Yeah, so they're at the edge of the abyssal lake. Alright, right there. And they're getting a map. Alright. Where are we? Yeah, at that point it was nearly morning. They took a 15-minute nap. Yeah, and got back on the road. Because, if you're that tired, you're going to go to sleep, and you're going to go to sleep for 15 minutes and 15 minutes only. Because, that makes sense. And, they made it, Snakey made a boat, and it was like, he formed it into the air, and it was about to fall in the water, and then they teleported suddenly the other way. Ooh, they were confused, dizzy, and disoriented. And in the middle of the most dangerous flare mine, oh my gosh. It's flare mine site. They were in the remnant. Like, in case this wasn't obvious, they were in the remnant sector now, basically. And, they have a flare mine site there. And they're, like, trying to dig out the mountain. Because it's in the way or whatever. Yeah. Or something, I don't know. And they find the crystal and like, oh, whoa, this investment was big. This is bad. This was good. This is the better. Oh, okay, well, we've been digging in for a good reason. Yeah, so they're doing their... So they're in the middle. The reason they call it the most dangerous is because not only are they technically there illegally, but also, Solar is right there. Solar Dendron now? Also, I just want to address why Cyron's last name is Lazat, which is his species name. So basically, when you're born as a Lazat, your last name is automatically Lazat unless you change it specifically something. And that also explains why Chromus's last name is Cortonid or something? Cortonid, I don't know. Yeah, that explains why. That's also why Solar's last name is different. So they're in there, they're like, oh my gosh, and we gotta hide. So they hide, but they basically immediately get found, I'm pretty sure. Because, yeah, the most dangerous flare was here. Solar. And he pretty much was the most, there was no one really like it. Alright, set up camp, for the third time. Because it was easy because of Snakey's power, which makes sense, They both went to sleep. Only 15 minutes of sleep, they got woken up by something. That makes more sense. If you get woken up by a loud noise, that makes more sense if you only sleep 15 minutes. But, like, 15 minutes nap, they just go to sleep and then wake up 15 minutes later after not having slept for so long. That's no. Yeah, I'm also just judging this, even though it's still the story so far. Alright, it turned into a team of remnants. It turned out to be a team of remnants that were, and flares, remnants and flares, that were cutting into the smaller pieces. Alright. Oh yeah, there's also another thing that I wanted to get on the internet. When it comes to flares, okay, like different sectors. So when you're born in a sector, that's your sector. So if you're born in the liminal sector, you're gonna turn your the parts of you that glow will be yellow. But say your mom and dad. So your dad's a freaking flare and your mom is an aquatic. Alright, as a Lazat, you're being born on Borealis. Alright? And then, so you're like, okay, whoa, what am I? So, your sector color is automatically the dad's color. So you would be a flare. Even though you technically be both, even though your color is red, you're still basically both. It's weird. Anyway, so like, okay, let's go over there to investigate or whatever. So they just, it's usually like, oh my gosh, yeah, I want a piece. And he's like, actually, you can't. I wanted to do that so bad, but I never actually got it. He was like, bruh. So he got really mad at it, and he goes up there, and then boom, touches it, and just that entire crystal is his, and it only gave him 2 powers, obviously. So he's like, and they're like, what the hell? You idiot! Like, and then the volcano, like, Solar basically comes along, and then the remnants being a little snitch, and then, the volcano erupts, and then all of a sudden, Creepy and Snaky and Siron and Solar were instantly teleported to the edge of the world! Or at least, what Siron assumed at the time. And I know that, okay, writing that was actually a big mistake. Like, why would you think that's the edge of the world? No, they didn't think that was the edge of the world. They thought that was the end of all land on Borealis, basically. Now, why didn't they fly out and see the other sector on the other side of the world? Yeah, there's a bunch of plot holes, I know, and I'm realizing that more and more as I read into this, especially since my lore has expanded, you know. Also, what doesn't make sense is why the 3 are humans. The 3, like, the emerald, the ruby, and the diamond, basically the people who are ruling over freaking Borealis, or at least the sectors, the 5 sectors, the remnants, the liminals, the florals, and the flares, and the aquatics. Why are they human? That doesn't make any sense, but they still are. Anyway, where was I? Oh, okay. So yeah, so there's a whole fight scene. Once again, this was supposed to be an animation script, so there's no actual detail. And thank God I didn't get this far. But, it was originally supposed to be that Siren gets knocked back and his hood is revealed. His hood is, like, taken off or something, and his face is revealed. Which is not something Lizats normally do, but it's not like, oh my gosh, what the heck, that's what they look... Yeah, so, it's fine. Oh my gosh, I'm actually goofy, I don't even remember. Yeah, so... I like how, Creepy, Snaky, Siron, and Solar were teleported. It's just, like, quite creepy. But no, because he's needed for the plot. Yeah. So they're going to their fight scene. Oh my gosh, they're running out of ideas. What the heck? They're like, okay. And then, eventually, the one who asked, the hybrid, which, in fact, when I wrote the hybrid, I knew he was black and white, so I was like, okay, that could be a hybrid potential. But at the time, I had no idea what the actual heck he could be. I didn't know anything about the Awakens or the Paralas. I didn't make that lore yet. But anyway, Raptimov shows up. Also at this time, I didn't know his name would be Raptimov. Like, I think it was... I just called him the one who asked. But then at that point... At a certain point, I was like, you know, I just realized that's a bad name. You know what? That's a nickname. And I'm going to make him a real name. And honestly, I think Raptimov is a pretty cool freaking sounding name, let's be honest. Anyway, they confront us all, and they're like, oh, it's a distraction or whatever. And then some other unrealistic thing happens, and then basically Solar dies. Yeah, you can just read the end of that thing. So they go get some food. Wait. Well, usually, and now, but at least he isn't alone in this. And now, he realizes how stupidly hungry he is. Not just him. So they go get some food, like some Big Backs. Roll credits, because they were supposed to be credits, and it would just all be me. Once the credits are over, we can see the gang, Creepy, Snaky, and Siron, where's Raptimov? And actually, thank God I didn't put and Raptimov, because that also fits in with the lore of the next part for the planet 7675Y, which would be the second sector instead of sector Subscryte. Oh my gosh, so many S's. Alright, there it is. And then Snakey mentions the second sector. Siren asks who it is. Snakey explains, and then black. The end. What is this? A Marvel movie? Okay. Well, I think that's good enough for this part, and I will explain the next part, which takes place somewhere in 2073. I don't know. Anyway, part 1 over.